Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Alliance Tournament Gridlocked and Loaded show. In this show, we'll be taking you through all of what the Alliance Tournament is, especially for those who are new to the tournament. We will try our best to explain everything as simple as we can. My name is CCP Lumi. I'll be your host for this show, and I've brought with me 5 times Alliance Tournament winner CCP Swift, who does not have medals this time.
Thank God.
Tournament master CCP Zelus, and longtime Alliance Tournament broadcast host CCP Overload. Say hello, guys.
Hello, guys.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Indeed.
My pleasure.
Dude, Alliance Tournament is almost like the finals are just around the corner. I get so excited. It's October now.
We have about 4-ish weeks until the final start, so we'll have at least 4 episodes of this where we will answer questions. Before we do that, though, I want to set the scene here. So I want to ask each of you to think back, probably a long while, to your very first experience with the Alliance Tournament. Either if that was viewing or playing or just like lurking on the sidelines. CCP Swift.
I watched the first one, Alliance Tournament that I watched in its entirety, I think was Alliance Tournament 4. I participated in Alliance Tournament 5. I didn't perform very strongly in that tournament. But in Alliance Tournament 6, I got onto a slightly better team, did a little bit better. Then Alliance Tournament 7, my team won. I got to play in the finals of that team. My favorite moment is like, I know you didn't ask favorite moments, but I'm gonna just offer this myself. I was flying a ship and my character couldn't fly Tech 2 or couldn't equip Tech 2 armor rigs or Tech 2 armor harners, the ENAMs. So I had to strip it off to fit, go to Jita on my alt, buy the best named one, fly it back, fit the best named on my ship. At the time it was the N-type, and then just hope I didn't explode so no one would know. Because I figured I'd get instantly purged from not only the team, but the Alliance if they caught me just like stripping off fits because I couldn't fly it. And there was clearly like 10 other people that could. I died.
Did they find out?
They did find out. But they were very excited because they won. So they didn't kick me out of the Alliance.
All right, CCP Zelus, what about you?
Yikes. So really, this is kind of an interesting one because the first Alliance tournament I listened to because the early days before like streaming and video services, Eve Radio was casting, I think it was Alliance Tournament 5, and then Alliance Tournament 6 was actually the first one I watched back when Eve TV existed. And then the first one I actually helped out with, I guess, was the Alliance Open, which is technically like, I think 15-ish. And then the one after that, when we started with the Mortis Legion, was the one I actually first refereed, which was Alliance Tournament 17. There you go. Yeah.
Many rules before becoming our tournament
Yeah,
master.
yeah.
CCP Overload.
I think the first ones I would have watched would have been around the 6, 7, 8 mark, but the first one I think I watched in its entirety would have been 10. And then first time I flew in a tournament, I think was Alliance Tournament 13 with the Bastards. We went 2 and 2. We didn't know what we were doing. We had 2 rush comps. That was our entire comp lineup. And then we practiced against Shadow Cartel the night before our first match, and they used this Bomber Tinker against us and just destroyed us. And we just copy-paste and then flew it the next day in a match, having never practiced with it, and won. We were like, oh, clearly we're going to win the whole thing now. That didn't happen. We lost. And went
Nice try.
But yeah, we gave it a good go. And then the first time I got involved doing stuff with like casting would have been probably 15. I half-hosted 16, and then we did the Alliance Open, me and CCP Zelus. And of course, BRJ and the rest of the EVNT crew. You were there as well for that.
I was.
Yeah. And then obviously 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So,
Heads up quick.
yeah, it just keeps coming. It's like Smash Mouth says, just keeps coming. It don't stop coming.
Yep.
So if these guys mentioned any of the terms like comms or any other references they made that you don't understand, don't worry, we've got you. We'll be going through it all. Because as for me, my first Alliance tournament was viewing 2 years ago. I had absolutely no idea what was going on. And then last year I helped organizing it. I still don't have any clue what's going on. Well, we prep for this one. So let's get some of those questions answered, shall we? Going all the way back, when did the Alliance tournament start and why especially? CCP Zelus, can you take us all the way back?
If I recall, the first one I want to say is 2005 was the original. I don't think it was actually called the Alliance Tournament on its first go round. I want to say it was called the Caldari Championship, I think, originally. before it ended up becoming the Alliance Tournament, the second one, I want to say. I kind of view it a little bit over time with like the before times of when sponsors didn't really exist, and it was kind of figuring out what the Alliance Tournament was going to be. And then the sponsors came along, then we had a little bit of a pause, and then we have like what I call the current years, I think, of the Alliance Tournament, where it was more of the, we've brought it back, we've kind of iterated on it a little bit, and it's kind of formed now into what I think is like the most optimal version of what it has been over time.
We look at these like current year's Alliance Tournament. For those who are unaware of what the Alliance Tournament is, CCP Swift, can you give me an elevator pitch of what we're talking about here?
Electronic sports. That's what we're talking about.
EVE Sports.
Yes. It's like the most distilled version of EVE Online that you can compete on a PvP level. There are rules, there are points, there's Excel sheets, there's kind of everything that's in there. There's sabotage, intrigue, markets, industry. Everything plays a role a little bit. But essentially, at the root of it, it's just a 10v10 competition to see who is the best. We throw them into a special arena that, we have to put some restrictions around it. It can't just be like everything else in EVE. We can't just be like, take a system or do this and, a blob might win here or a certain type of alliance might win there. So we try to even it out as best as we can. So every ship has a point value. Everyone goes by the same rules. And it's just like a 10v10, a double elimination tournament, and the winner gets really cool prizes and bragging rights.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Bragging rights.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was gonna come back to that. I want to know like what is the prestige of the Alliance Tournament? Why are all these players so hyped to be doing this, and why do they put so much effort in it?
It's one of the hardest things to accomplish in EVE Online is to win an Alliance Tournament. You only get the opportunity once a year, and some of the teams have some of the best pilots I've ever played the game, best theory crafters I've ever played the game, and they are just so exceptionally skilled on an individual and as a team that getting through those people can be such an achievement. And if you can do it and rise to the top and say that you are the best and you have won an Alliance Tournament, for many, that's like the top of Everest, essentially. It's the best you can possibly be in the game.
Yeah, it's a very, EVE is a very competitive game to begin with. And this is just like the most competitive PvP element to the game that you can do. It's incredibly difficult. Teams put in enormous amounts of effort to try and get in just like top 15, top 16 slot. So being able to say that, yeah, I got to the very end, I outpiloted, I outsmarted, I out-whatevered everyone else in the game to get there. It's just like, something that you're always remembered by. That becomes like instantly your legacy as an EVE pilot. No matter who you are, no matter what alliance you're flying with, you can always point to and be like, I've got this Alliance Tournament gold medal.
And you get the gold medal for the earlier ones, at least in game. Now we have an actual trophy, which is in the office here, and it has your Alliance logo, or Alliance name, engraved on it, and you can get to add to that by winning again every year if you are good enough. So it really is immortalizing yourself. This is one of the longest running esports, continuous sort of lineage of tournaments, I believe, out there. We're on Alliance Tournament 21 coming up, so there's 22 names on the trophy because the Alliance Open also snuck its way onto there.
Yeah.
But it really is a hall of champions, and some of the names on that trophy are just storied. Like Band of Brothers won the first three, and you have like Hun Reloaded, Verge of Collapse, Pandemic Legion, the Tuskers Co., Fraternity coming in the other year, and a surprise. They were 2-0 down in the grand finals, come back, win 3-2, etch their name into history. It's incredible.
Stealing the win over there.
Yes, it was a fantastic final.
I always find the coordination element interesting because it's always like when you have the PvP shakes that always happen for every encounter, and then when you're playing through scrims to eventually learn not just what your role is in every match, but also what your colleagues are doing alongside you, or understanding that you're not telling them to do the thing because they know the thing that they're doing. You're relying on them doing that thing, and then it just becoming second nature, where the communication that also happens every match is more of the informative of understanding what the enemy team is doing and how you're going to react to it. So the PvP encountering element of just trying to do it enough times that those shakes go away and it just becomes this calm element through every match, I find super interesting as well.
So I've heard you mention scrims and you've mentioned finals and I've heard double elimination. Before we go all the way into the weeds, CCP Zelus, can you explain a little bit about how the tournament is built up? Because obviously we end in finals, but what happens before that?
So we have the feeder tournament is generally what we end up calling it. But obviously preceding that is we generally do an announcement to say the Alliance Tournament is coming. And then following that, we normally do our rules announcement. So that's the point where everybody can start theory crafting, which is the element of working out the compositions of every team, so also known as comps. So understanding, hey, look, if I want to win a match, then I need to understand what the rules are going to be. So I understand what my restrictions are. And then understanding what the point values are. So each value associated with every ship. And then figuring out how you're going to play out the matches. And then understanding like things like the banning system as well. So understanding that when you come to a match, I want to bring this particular composition. The enemy team is going to try and mess around with my composition by banning particular ships that may be critical to my comp. But how am I going to counter this? Or how am I going to substitute ships? So you end up with this like whole entire thing before the tournament's even started, where everyone has to try and figure this element out. But the feeder tournament is essentially like how we take an unknown number of participating alliances into a number that is known. So, for example, I think this year it was 51 teams that we ended up having to whittle down to 32 teams. And we used the feeder tournament as like the tournament before the tournament to get to that known number that we want for our double elimination main tournament.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a play-in or like a qualifier.
Yeah.
Like there are so many similarities to our Alliance tournament and just like not only other sports, but also like other esports. So if you're familiar with like Dota or League or CSGO or like any of those things, like you can take some of that knowledge with you into the Alliance tournament and kind of know a little bit about like the format and what's going on and what to expect.
You said we have an unknown number of teams. Obviously, at some point, alliances sign up their teams, and then we have a known number that we need to filter down to the 32 teams. CCP Overload. You are our orb master. We've done this together. Can you explain a little about how the seeding of teams works? So how the teams get put in the brackets and how the tournament eventually plays out?
Works is a strong word to describe this. I mean, the last 2 years we have used a bingo ball machine. We have relied on the power of randomness to seed the teams. It's such a complicated thing to do, to try and do it in something way that any way you could pick that isn't random, someone will claim is biased towards one team or the other. And it's true, you can't make an unbiased system. So the best way to do it is just lean into it and go full on RNG. So we pull balls out and they group teams into the feeder groups, and then that's how they play through. Of course, CCP Zelus, I think it's the first 4 teams from the previous year, or is it 3? 4?
Four.
First 4 are automatically seeded. They don't have to go through the bingo ball roulette of death.
They sit back and relax.
They can sit back and point and laugh. And of course,
That is the way to do it.
The flip side is some poor team gets drawn against last year's champions, for example. That's always going to happen. And yes, that's how we determine the seeding. Randomness. Spherical randomness.
And chaos.
And chaos.
I always love that. Every year it's like, oh, this is a great system when I haven't been matched against last year's champions. And then when they get matched against last year's champions, this is a
horrible
system.
Yeah.
Please change it.
Yeah. And of course, this year we managed to use the world's worst bingo ball machine, which had a great
The world's worst so far.
So far.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was pretty bad.
It was, God, I don't want to think about it.
So for those who haven't seen that particular stream, every time we rolled the bingo ball machine to make the balls come out, more than the ones we wanted decided to fall out and go all over the floor. So it was truly as random as it could be.
It really, yeah, that's a good point. It could not have been any more random. I was just so, like, praise Bob, we didn't lose any of those balls. Like, as CCP Swift said, imagine getting eliminated from the Alliance tournament because your ball fell under the couch.
Right, then teams are seeded, they get into the feeders tournament, and then what happens? How do we go from, like, this year it was 50 to 32? How do we do it? How does this elimination process work?
So we change. Well, I say we change it. We invariably, because it's like an unknown number, the formatting, the like final formatting for the feeder rounds actually changes a little bit from year to year. This year we actually did what's known as, more commonly in the tournament scene, as the GSL format, where it was just more of a case of it gives teams an opportunity to, like, you have to win twice to get in, but it also means that there's more opportunities that if you lose one and win one, you have another opportunity to potentially, get into the main tournament. If you lose 2, you were out as well. So it's not, because of the kind of randomness element, it also gives you a second opportunity that even if you do lose the first round, you may come against another team that you have better odds against, and you may end up actually getting into the main tournament because of it.
So, and some of these second opportunities are known as skin runs. CCP Swift, can you explain what people mean by that?
So every time you win a match, you get awarded 10 skins for your efforts. So some teams, this is what they claim they do. In reality,
course.
they always just want to win. Like that's the most direct path in the tournament is just win. But if you do end up losing, it's just an opportunity to earn more skins. The Spin Master works everywhere in EVE. He's not gone in the Alliance tournament.
Fair enough. And then after the Fetus tournament, we have a bit of a break where people go back to practices that are usually called scrims.
Yep.
Where in
A lot
that
of people
period,
refer to this time as the gulag. Because the top teams are in the gulag 3 to 6 days a week right now, training every night, scrimming, practicing. It is a huge amount of effort.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't want to scrim against an opponent. Sometimes you just don't want to let anyone know what your strategies are, what you're thinking, or how you're going to approach the tournament. So you scrim against yourself. So suddenly your 10-person team needs 20 active people flying. And as Overload was saying, this is where things can get kind of spicy. It can be very, very stressful to fly this. You have like some preconceived notion of how things should go in the tournament or in a match. And if it doesn't go that way, you're like, well, let's do it again. And then the other teams, like your friends, your actual in-game friends are like, no, we won. Let's not practice this anymore because we're the winners. So everyone always has to play like a losing side versus a winning side. And so it can get quite heated in there. I like to liken it to like an extended family like holiday where you love everyone there, but at the end of it, you're just like so glad they're gone. Like you just don't want to see them again for like another 6 months.
So besides scrims, is there anything else these teams do in this period of their time in the gulag?
I mean, there's research into what the other teams are doing. This can be accomplished in a number of different ways. These days, practice is done on Thunderdome, where there's pretty strict controls. You can spawn stuff. In ye olden days, of course, it was on Singularity, the test server, and teams would have a wormhole to practice in. Other people would try and hunt their wormhole down on the test server to spy on them. But getting that information, what people are doing, like if someone practices, Team A practices with Team B, Team C might be interested to know what was happening, so they might try and talk to someone in Team B. You're kind of like doing opponent research, allows you to get into the minds of the other team and start bringing things that you think you might expect. So if you're a top team, you're probably going to look at what the top teams from previous years used that was unexpected and try and figure out how you would counter it if they bring that. So you're going to literally recreate their comps, set it up, and try and have people fly like them. So you're doing all this stuff to just get more information so that when you warp in and see something, you should at least have an idea of what you're looking at. You don't want to warp in and go, oh no, that's the worst.
I was going to say, I think another interesting thing is this year is for the first time we've actually published rosters. So when you're kind of in that research phase where you're looking at previous teams and you see what like the roster was of the team or like who was flying in a particular match, and then you look at the roster this year and you see, oh, look, it's similar pilots again, then you can probably like ascertain, well, chances are if this pilot is here again, then they're probably going to be flying this particular ship. So you can kind of understand roughly what they may have done in the past and what you might be encountering this time as well.
So they're also looking at like their direct opponents because, correct me if I'm wrong, but they do know the teams they are playing in at least the first round, right?
Yes. So a lot of top teams will have a practice partner with another top team, and they'll be exclusive practice partners. They will not practice with anybody else. A lot of like sort of mid-table teams might want to try and practice with the best teams, but in reality, they would just get stomped quite a lot in those practices, and the better team won't learn too much from stomping. So they want to find like the best teams to practice against. Of course, this is a double-edged sword, and you sometimes see this in the main tournament when two practice partners at the very tail end of the tournament, you're talking like grand finals or semi-finals, end up against each other. And then you have this really big meta problem of, do I bring what I know we're good at, or do I try and like outfox my practice partner? And sometimes you get the most wild things appearing, like they've held something back and they're going on their guts. It's an absolute ride sometimes.
Yeah, there's a lot of mind games that go on in the Alliance tournament. But one of the things I really like about this format of having like the feeders or the qualifiers is that when the main tournament, when the finals come around, there's so much parity between the teams. If you look back to like the ye olden days of like Alliance Tournament 6, 7, 8, you can see some really mismatched opponents where some team is clearly like 2 or 3 levels above and they just kind of steamroll. And it doesn't look like it's very competitive at all. Now, like if you take someone, anyone that's really in the tournament now, and if you were to throw them back in history, they could compete up to like a grand final stage. So like even the lowest team in this tournament is probably better practiced, better theory crafted, and just like good enough at flying that they could be like incredibly competitive in like some of the early Alliance tournaments. That's how far the tournament scene has gone, and it also just shows how strong these teams have to be to play in. Because previously, before there was this type of like play-in tournament, you could kind of buy your way in through Plex, through just kind of bidding on slots. So rich teams could kind of get in, and sometimes there's like a correlation between rich teams and good teams. But sometimes some rich teams are just dog water. They're just not very good. And then a team that is like very talented in the game might have lost a spot just because they couldn't pony up enough Plex.
I think the point you're making about sort of your average team these days being better than a lot of the top teams back in the day is extremely accurate, and it's come about partially, I think, because of the new system where you have to fight ends through the feeders. Just the average quality of matches that we've been watching in the feeders, last year's tournament, the year before, etc., have just been better and better and better. It's like any sport. Like if you look at I don't know, soccer or American football or tennis back in like the 60s and 70s, and then look at the people doing it now, they would just walk all over like the best of the best back in the day. It's just the level has got so good, and people are hyper optimizing everything. There was an instance last year in the tournament, for example, a command destroyer can only have a maximum of about 3 links on any one time, and what one team was doing was they had 5 fitted. They were firing 3 links, offlining them, onlining the other ones, firing those, but also swapping implants. They were ripping implants out and re-injecting the next one, and then ripping that one out and re-injecting the next one. So when the ship died, it had billions of implants in its cargo because the pilot's swapping back and forward to get the maximum amount possible out of a single ship. Like,
maximum sweaty.
Imagine trying to tell that to like the grand finalists in like Alliance Tournament 4, who are probably in mismatched ships, don't have the skills to fly half of the modules. They're doing what now? What's a command destroyer?
We've discussed the feeders. We've discussed the time in the Gulag between. How about the actual tournament? How does that one play out, CCP Zelus?
So that is regular, has been a regular double elimination tournament for a very long time now. It's pretty standard in terms of just the way the double elimination tournament plays out. There's a small rules difference generally between the feeder tournament and the main tournament. We just make the feeder tournament just a little bit easier, just so it's like, hey, I'm just trying to learn the ropes here. With the hopes that, if they can get through the feeder tournament and then they get into the main tournament, then their difficulty just goes up just a tiny bit. It's normally just messing around with things like the bans and the fact that you can't bring flagships. Flagships is a whole another conversation we'll probably come on to later, but it's another element that we just remove from the feeder tournament.
And just to make sure that everyone's on the same line here for the uninitiated, what is a double elimination tournament?
So it's just a case of like, if you get let's use the first game as an example. If you get knocked out from your first game, you go into what we call the losers bracket, but essentially it's just a bracket for every team that doesn't win their first match, and then they play out against the other losers. But the idea being is that once you work your way through the losers bracket, you could end up playing against the main team in the winners bracket at that point.
It is so daunting to be in the elimination bracket.
Yeah.
Because I've been in the elimination bracket, I refuse to call it the losers bracket. But it is so daunting because you have to play more matches, obviously, by virtue of having
Skin run.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. But it's still so stressful. But at the same time, like, it helps the team gel a little bit, I think. Data probably doesn't support this, but I feel like the teams that have to go through the elimination bracket get that much more experience piloting, flying with one another, coming up with Alliance Tournament like type decisions. And oftentimes, if that team gets to the grand finals, it feels like they have a little bit of an advantage because they, have just gelled together. They've played together a lot more. They're probably a little bit more exhausted mentally, so they don't have to second guess anything. They just go on pure instinct and do really, really well.
Is there any spot where people can see these brackets?
Yeah,
So
they're
you
usually
can,
on
like-
challenge, aren't they?
Yep. For double elimination, because it is a standard tournament format, we normally we have them on Challenge, but that's also on Discord, and we have our Alliance Tournament section on the main EVE Online website as well, which has it on there as well.
That lives under the community tab, right?
Correct, yes.
All right, so if you're looking and you want to see what we have been yapping about, go to
Go to
the...
this link right here on the screen right now. Thanks, editor.
I'm not sure if we have these editing
I don't know-
powers.
I don't know if we have these.
We're
editing
just
powers.
pointing at this point.
Yeah, it could
Yeah.
just be us pointing at nothing. But it's
pointing
right
at
here, the
nothing.
link.
Yeah.
Sure, sure.
Well, it doesn't help that we're moving our fingers, so he has to like try
So-
and like motion
Let me
track.
hold the link.
Yeah, here it is.
There it is.
Do
I'm
you
gonna make
know-
it bigger. There we go.
Do you know where we can make that link be? Like right under this episode on YouTube in the description,
There
we'll
we
have
go.
some
No, that could
handy
be-
links for you.
It could be the backup, I guess.
That's just one thing I know for sure we'll have, unlike an editor. So there's one more thing to the tournaments that I kind of want to discuss because it influences, amongst other things, the prizes. So these days tournaments are sponsored by one of our in-game factions, with Alliance Tournament 21 being Caldari. Besides prizes, what does this do? Why do we have a sponsor for the Alliance Tournament?
So it was more of a case, so very, very, very long time ago, it was just a case of we decided that sponsors was going to be a really good way to like mix it up every tournament to make it a little bit less predictable from going from one tournament to the other. Generally, what it means is the prizes for that year are themed around, as you say, that particular faction of choice. It also means we normally adapt the rules a little bit to make them a little bit more flavored to that faction, as well as adjusting some of the points for the ships. So some of the things I've done in the past is, for example, like the Navy faction or fleet faction of ships, I would reduce the point values for to make them a little bit more appealing. So we end
You
up
mean the
with-
IGC reduces the points?
Sorry.
value?
The IGC, thank you, adjusts the point values, so it makes them a little bit more appealing. Sometimes I mean, every year we adjust the points in general as well. This year, I think we've had more uniquely pointed ships than ever, just to try and encourage more kind of comp diversity. It just means that every match it becomes a little less predictable what your opponent might bring. But yeah, the sponsors generally just mean that we make ships a little bit cheaper, and the rewards are all themed around that particular faction.
We'll also have a future episode where we discuss way more about ship points and what they are used for. But you've heard it here first. CCP Zelus pulls the strings of the IGC.
He's the
so
puppet master. I knew it all along.
who didn't? But that's why he's tournament master, right?
Yep. CCP Thunder Daddy.
Oh boy,
I tried so hard to not mention it today, and here he goes.
Nope, I'm getting it in there.
thanks.
All right, so then also obviously it influences the prices, but can you explain in what way? Like, what are the prices and how does the Caldari have an influence on them?
So generally, the IGC has conversations with the corresponding sponsor, and normally they adapt a particular ship that already exists that corresponds to that faction, and then IGCifies it. Would probably be the best term that I can use. Alliance tournament ships are kind of renowned for being a little stronger than their original counterparts. I think it's actually written into the IGC description that they make bespoke ships based on that particular faction. But it makes amped up versions of original ships. Traditionally, it had been frigates and cruisers that we'd done year on year. Last year, we did frigate, cruiser, and battleship for the Big 20, which was a bit of a unique year. So it was just celebrating the 20th. So we expanded that line a little bit. And this year, we have gone and done a destroyer and a battle cruiser as well.
So obviously winners win the prizes, so they get the ships. How many of these like Alliance Tournament ships I'll ask for a rough estimate, are like out there, and what happens like if someone flies them on?
So there's quite a few out there, but some of them are rarer than others. If you go back before Alliance Tournament 17, I think it was 50 and 50 that were given out, and they were basically only given out to the top 3 or 4. So there was and is, you know who you are, a cartel of the tournament ship owners, kind of trading them between themselves. And if you weren't in that cartel or didn't know someone in that cartel, some of them could be very hard to get, especially if they were powerful in the tournament itself, which they used to be. Things like the Rubisu, for example, it would be very hard for someone to find one to buy. In Alliance Tournament 17, we massively upped the number to around, I think, 274 or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's 140 of each ship.
Yes. Yeah, that sounds about right. And it goes all the way down to 16th position. So it's no longer just the very top teams. And because it's a 32-team double elimination tournament, if you win 2 matches, you get into the top 16, you guarantee yourself prize ships, which is amazing. Like, if you think about it, last year, you won 2 matches at the start of Alliance Tournament 20, and you were getting at least 1 Alliance Tournament battleship for your team, which is incredible. Of course, this distribution means that there's more of them, and more people are using them. The cartel finds it a bit more difficult to control them, and you see a lot more action of them being used. Like, just look on Zcal, there's way more people using things like the Raiju and the Laylaps than there are like the Mimir and the Freki from back in the day. I think personally is a great thing. I love to see these things out and about and getting used. They are a lot of fun to fly, and for people who are in this kind of like high end, I'm winning Alliance tournament level of experience in the game, you probably don't get the combat shakes very much anymore, but you still get them a little bit when you're undocking your like 600-700 billion-esque Alliance tournament cruiser to try and like dunk out a venture or something.
And there are also players who hunt specifically, like their purpose in EVE is to hunt the people who fly the Alliance Tournament prize ships.
Yep. I have done that. It's quite fun.
Or you get people that also set their weird own personal achievements of like flying back from Iceland on an airplane and undocking your Python to try and get a kill at 32,000 feet.
Yep, shout out Drake. He did it. He got one.
He got one.
managed.
That
So
is an
he told
achievement.
me first time he undocked, the Wi-Fi disconnected.
Yeah. Panic. Yep.
Yeah.
That would definitely cause the shakes.
Mm.
Yeah.
You mentioned that like some of these ships are really strong in the tournament scene as well. Does that mean that we allow Alliance tournament ships in the tournament to fly?
Kind of. In previous history, you could just bring an Alliance tournament ship. I changed the rules.
The IGC.
Sorry. Once again, the IGC changed the rules. It was more of a case I decided to remove them.
The
and
IGC.
then, do you want to become an IGC spokesperson? My PR rep from
We'll just
the IGC.
bleep them all
Yeah,
out.
yeah. The IGC decided to change the rules a little bit, where it was we originally didn't want them to be brought because it was always a case of, as CCP Overload was saying, the like value for them is always so much higher. So when a new team was trying to enter the tournament, the prospect of having to buy an Alliance tournament ship to be competitive in the tournament, I didn't like. That being said, I can absolutely see a place for them in the tournament. And one of the things I've tried to do, and I think I still need to do a little bit more work with regards to it, is introduce them back as flagships. So this is a ship where you can potentially bring it as long as it stays alive. And then if it dies in the tournament, you can't like go out and buy another one and bring it to another match. It's more of a case of I've tried to just slowly reintroduce them into the tournament, but have that value there so that if you want to bring a flagship or if you want to invest your money into a singular ship, you can make the choice of it being a battleship, for example, or one of the previous Alliance tournament ships. I've changed it again a little bit that it's from like the newer generation of ships that you can bring. You can't bring some of the like the super old Alliance tournament ships. So it just means that the ones that have had the greater distribution, you can actually bring along to the tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, these ships are completely cracked. Like, by design, they're meant to be broken.
Yep.
So having that in a 10v10 where we try and make things as equitable as possible, it makes it incredibly hard to balance. Because if you have a ship that can just go twice as fast as every other ship, do twice as much damage as every other ship for the same amount of points, then that team's always going to have a huge advantage regardless of how much they practice, how much they train, how much they can theory craft a good setup. So yeah, it just kind of helps even things out a little bit.
It also had a big effect on the ban meta, especially the one I mentioned earlier, the Rubisu and its shield counterpart, the Atana. These are logistics cruisers. And back in the day when they were seen around, there really was only the Guardian, the Oneros, were your choices for armor. The Zarmaz didn't exist yet, and the Tech 1 counterparts weren't obviously as strong. But a Rubisu could be brought, and you could still run an armor composition with while being under a Guardian and an Oneros bans. So because at the time it was 2 bans you had, it meant that teams literally couldn't be banned out by just having more money. You could still bring what you wanted if you just brought money instead.
That does sound broken.
It was a bit broken. It was great while it lasted. Everyone enjoyed it. And occasionally we got to see some fantastically expensive kills go down. There's a famous match from back in the old days, like a trillion-esque or something goes down because there's back then you could bring multiple AT ships.
Yeah.
So like multiple, I think it was Pandemic Legions, multiple Cambions, and maybe they're facing NC Dot.
I think it was PL versus Camel Empire that had like multiple Mirachas on each side.
Yeah.
Cambions, which are just like Drakes but in frigate form.
Yep.
And
a bunch died. And the thing is, I remember when the commentators were talking about it, they're like, I think a Cambion goes down, like, oh, that's going to cost them nearly 50 bill to replace. You're like, oh, man.
Oh, man.
if I could buy one right now, 50 bill, 100% done.
Yeah. That's
probably like a 2-3 trillion-esque match now.
Yeah,
It's
without a
crazy.
doubt.
Long live inflation. All right, so this has been a quick sneak peek into next week's episode where we'll be diving all the way into how a match works, including what flagships are, how you can bring them, and how you can fit them. But before we close this off, does any one of you have a topic that you think like fits within the Alliance Tournament basics that we're covering today before we dive slightly deeper into the materials next time?
I think just what I say a lot of the time when people ask this type of question, which is the Alliance Tournament has never been more accessible. When you apply for the feeders, you pay a sort of flex deposit to make sure you turn up, but if you get eliminated and don't make it to the main tournament, you get it back. And you get prize skins for just winning a match in the feeders tournament. So even if you win one match and then still get eliminated, you're going to come out quids in. It is easier than ever before.
No, you won't, though.
Do you not get
You
skins
don't get the plex back.
Oh, you don't get the plex back?
Yeah.
Well, you don't get the plex back,
But
but
you get
you
might get some skins.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
so the plaques that you have to pay the IGC to participate in the tournament is kind of like a registration fee.
Yeah.
You will not get it back,
Yeah.
but you might win.
Well,
those
my
skins.
point
It's
stands. It's
relatively
still
low-
easier
it's
than ever
relatively
before.
low amount.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you can still get in and try it. I highly recommend it. Also with the mercenary rule as well, even if your alliance isn't doing it, you don't have to leave your alliance and go join another one just to play. You can find a team that's looking for more pilots and be a mercenary. So the TLDR, never been more accessible. Just try it.
Yeah, just on it, like it's always been this like very intimidating type thing, but as Overload was saying, very easy to get into, and also just very easy to watch. You can hop on YouTube. We've got some amazing player commentators, hosts, and analysts that will just break down every match, let you know like what the important bits are, and after you watch a few of them, you'll start to get a kind of a feel for exactly like how these matches generally play out, what the strategy is, and then you can kind of like appreciate the strategy a little bit more. And then when the main tournament does happen, you can watch us live on Twitch. Just join us over on CCP TV, and you can like guess at which team is going to win, and you can just wager your channel points and
Lose or win.
just always win or always
That's
lose.
my strategy.
Just win.
Just win. Just win, baby.
But there are amazing, just like in every other sport, there are some amazing stories, great upsets, like Cinderella teams, year after year, year after year. Like there's going to be surprises. And it's so much fun to watch, just even if you're not like a tournament master, just to understand like, oh, Test Alliance is in the Alliance tournament. What? They still exist. That's so cool. CCP Jotun loses his mind every time Test Alliance plays.
This is the reason why he's not in the seat, because he would yell so loud that you will lose your eardrums.
Yeah.
That was one of the things I absolutely loved about the feeders was like, in some regards, who could predict who was going to get into the tournament at that particular moment? Where it's like a team that has historically not done well has suddenly done really well and got themselves into the main tournament. It's like, wow. It's these fantastic moments I absolutely love.
All right, I think that's a good closing moment of this particular episode. Before we hop off, I do want to point out that we are making this show for you. If you don't have all that experience with the Alliance Tournament, if you have seen a bit of the feeders and have questions about what was going on, do drop a comment down below, as people do. Let us know what you want to hear about, and we'll see if we can cover it in a future episode. Next week, the matches.
Yep. And then for next week's episode, click here.
For next week's what?
Yeah, well, 'cause this eventually will be on YouTube, right?
True. Yeah.
And then next week's episode will be right there, and a little.
And last week's episode will be
here.
down.
Last week's
over
episode will
there.
be here. Wait, there's no last week's episode.
You
This
guys
is
do
the
realize
first
that this is the first
Got him.
episode, right?
Yeah.
All right, on
Or we
that
do it out of
note,
order.
we will see you next time. Bye.